You can be smart, kind, hardworking, and still get disrespected. Ever wonder why? Because respect doesn't come from being good, it comes from being undeniable. And here's the hard truth. In real life, the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. The one who gets instant respect is usually the one who knows when to shut up. It sounds backward, but it's true. The real secret to gaining respect isn't about proving yourself. It's about mastering your presence, especially in silence. While most people fight to be seen and heard, the ones who stand out are the ones who speak less, but carry more. Wait, that's where power lives. Not in noise, but in control. In this video, you're going to learn why the most respected people don't chase approval, don't overshare, and definitely don't explain themselves. You'll discover how strategic silence, emotional control, and a strong presence can flip any situation in your favor. Fast. This isn't theory. It's real. And it works. But first, let me ask you something personal. How many times have you regretted saying too much, or reacting too quickly, or trying too hard to be liked, only to feel dismissed afterward? If any of that hit home, then this video is going to feel like a slap of clarity, and it just might change the way people look at you forever. The power of silence in hostile environments. In places where tension hangs in the air, where every word can be used against you, silence stops being absence and becomes strategy. Machiavelli knew this long before modern thinkers. In situations like that, speaking too much is like handing your enemy your entire arsenal. The one who stays silent in the middle of the storm immediately earns instant respect because silence signals emotional superiority. It's fascinating how simply refusing to explain or defend yourself can flip the entire power dynamic. When you walk into a meeting and choose to observe rather than speak, you plant the image of someone who thinks before acting. That's the secret to respect, being perceived as someone who knows what they're doing, even if you're just reading the room. Strategic silence sends the message of authority without needing to prove anything. That, my friend, is pure Machiavellian wisdom. Try this in your own life. Think of a tense family dinner or a heated group chat. When everyone expects your opinion, don't give it. Watch what happens. Suddenly your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room. Mystery holds weight, and it's in that weight that invisible power is born. Staying quiet when everyone expects you to lose control is a high-level form of emotional control. You're showing that you can't be rattled easily. Machiavelli would say, the one who remains calm during chaos owns the narrative. And practically speaking, it's simple. Resist the urge to react. Breathe deeply. Lock eyes. That kind of powerful posture deeply unsettles anyone still enslaved by their own emotions. In hostile environments, silence is read as emotional strength. Why? Because it takes effort. It takes awareness. Silence doesn't mean you don't have an opinion. It means you have control. You might be boiling on the inside, but on the outside, you're composed like someone who knows that battles aren't won in landmines. That's true respect. In business, in relationships, even online. People who master silence as a shield realize that attacks lose power when there's no reaction, and not responding is often the most strategic move you can make. When someone comes at you hoping to provoke and you stay still, the hit bounces right back. This works just as well in a relationship argument as it does in a corporate power struggle. That's when silent influence begins. Many think silence is cowardice, not even close. In some fights, speaking up is the real trap. Well-placed silence is a refined form of presence and authority. And more than that, it buys you time. Time to observe, plan, and move with intention. If Machiavelli were alive today, he'd say, "Those who remain silent with strategy rule without lifting a finger." Here's the real secret. Silence even shifts your body language. Crossed arms, steady gaze, slow breathing. Without saying a word, you radiate powerful posture. And in the end, when everyone else exhausts themselves trying to win with noise, you remain untouched and more valuable than ever. But of course, the game truly begins when you learn not just what to say, but if you should say anything at all. Because The game of rarity, the less you appear, the more you're worth. Most people are terrified of disappearing. They think that if they're not constantly present, they'll be forgotten. But Machiavelli saw it differently. Instant respect often comes from calculated absence. Those who show up too much become wallpaper, but those who appear only when necessary, they become monuments. Rarity isn't just value, it's invisible power in human form. Think about that colleague who only speaks when it really matters. Everyone listens when they do. Now compare that to the one who constantly talks, always has an opinion. Little by little, no one takes them seriously. This applies to everything: social media, dating, family dynamics. Rarity is power. And selective presence is Machiavellian wisdom in action. The secret to commanding respect often lies in not showing up too much. There's a fine line between being remembered and being trivialized. When you disappear for a while and return with something meaningful to say, you dominate attention. That's why great leaders, strategists, even artists, don't show up all the time. They speak in power phrases, not noise. In practice, you can start using this now. In meetings, speak less. Wait. Observe. Then when you do speak, deliver something that solves. That makes you memorable. You stop being a talker and become a problem solver. And the moment you solve, with self-mastery, you step into authority. That's the real secret behind instant respect. This also works in relationships. Don't respond instantly to every message. Don't always be available. This isn't about arrogance. It's about having a commanding presence. People are more drawn to someone who appears with purpose than someone who's always there out of neediness. Assertive communication is also knowing when to be quiet. That builds respect in love and in business. Rarity extends to body language too. Calm posture, steady movements, no nervous habits. That's power. Your body should speak before your mouth does. Want respect? Stop chasing attention. Let your absence raise questions. Because when people start to wonder where you are, they begin to value who you are. Presence without purpose becomes noise. But strategic absence turns every return into an event. Machiavelli knew this was one of leadership's strongest tools, knowing when not to be around, and more importantly, knowing how to show up with maximum impact. The Machiavellian mind doesn't crave stage time. It creates moments. And once you understand that respect doesn't come from being seen all the time, but from showing up like you don't need to prove anything, everything changes. Because well-placed scarcity triggers desire, curiosity, and silent respect. And once you control attention, you control the game. But beware. The next move is even more subtle. Learning not to react. Not reacting is power. Most people live on autopilot. Someone pokes them, and they react. An insult, a critique, a provocation. And there they go, handing over their power. Machiavelli saw this as exposed weakness. Because when you react, you reveal yourself. And instant respect is born the moment you show emotional control when everyone else is losing theirs. Take a look at the workplace, for example. The one who gets rattled by criticism immediately reveals where it hurts. The attacker expects your face to twist, your voice to rise, your defense to kick in. But when you refuse to react, you become a puzzle, a mystery that rattles them. And that, right there, is pure invisible power. Self-mastery turns tension into a stage for authority. Picture someone accusing you unfairly, expecting you to explode or justify yourself, and instead, you respond with calm, maybe a quiet, "I see your point." That phrase, delivered without flinching, is worth more than 1,000 explanations. Because it's not about the words, it's about what they reveal. You're in control. Machiavelli taught that true leaders don't flinch easily. Reacting impulsively gives your mind away. It's like stepping into the enemy's strategy. Not reacting is winning. It's letting others exhaust themselves trying to shake you while you remain still. That's what silent influence looks like. That's what earns automatic respect. This applies to everything. Arguments in relationships, clashes with bosses, social media debates, the one who doesn't react holds the reins. Silence puts pressure on the other person. It forces them into doubt or discomfort. And often, that's all it takes to shift the dynamic in your favor. Because the real power is in what you don't do. Mastering the urge to respond is a form of elite leadership. Emotionally reactive people rarely command real respect. But those who take a breath, hold their posture, and think before acting, they command rooms. They create a powerful presence. And even more than that, they buy time to choose smart moves. While others burn out, you analyze and plan. Don't get it twisted. Not reacting isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's subtle. Manipulation. People assume you're letting it go, when in reality, you're repositioning yourself in silence. Machiavelli would applaud this move, because controlling a room starts by controlling your own impulses. The one who listens silently with authority is always a step ahead. And when you realize that respect comes more from the things you don't say than the ones you do, the whole game changes. People start seeing you differently, as mature, composed, dependable. But the truth is, even greater authority is built when you understand that explaining yourself is just another way of giving your power away. The power of never explaining yourself. There's a childlike urge in many of us, the need to be understood. But the truth is harsh. The more you explain yourself, the more you expose yourself. Machiavelli knew that explanations invite judgment, and judgment weakens authority. Instant respect often comes not from what you say, but from what you leave unsaid. Whenever you make a decision and feel that urge to justify it, stop. Take a breath. Watch what happens when you act with conviction, without explaining. The people see you as someone who moves with purpose. Machiavelli would say, "True leaders act with certainty, not with apologies." Strategic silence sends a louder message than any long-winded justification. In the workplace, this is pure gold. Picture a manager making an unpopular decision. If he over-explains, he looks unsure. But if he communicates it clearly and directly, without drama, the team senses confidence. Assertive communication means not watering down your authority with anxious overtalk. Silent firmness is a form of invisible power. In relationships, it's no different. Saying no calmly and refusing to debate it increases your authority. Power phrases are short, clean, and final. "I've made my decision. This isn't for me. I'm good with that." That's it. Over-explaining invites subtle manipulation. Those who know this stop sabotaging themselves just to be liked. You don't need to justify every choice, every change of direction, or every boundary you set. The more you explain, the more you seem like you're seeking approval. But respect isn't born from pleasing others. It's born from standing firm. Machiavellian wisdom teaches, those who don't explain don't give their enemies anything to work with. Now, this isn't about being cold. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't based on people's understanding. Your powerful posture begins when you trust your own decision, even if no one else does. That's self-mastery. And that earns respect at work, in love, and in every room you walk into. When you act with calm confidence and leave the silence to speak for you, people start asking questions. And that curiosity, it turns into attention. That attention turns into automatic respect. Because now, people see you as someone who knows, even if you're still figuring it out. And that mystery, it protects you more than any explanation ever could. So next time you feel the urge to explain, don't. Instead, leave space. Let people wonder. Let your silence carry the weight of your decision. While they're busy trying to understand you, you'll already be on your next move. And speaking of silence, few things are as disarming as someone who knows how to sit in the discomfort and use it to their advantage. How to use discomfort to your advantage. Most people treat silence like the enemy. The second things get tense or awkward, they rush to fill the gap. But Machiavelli saw something different. Discomfort is a weapon. In fact, the one who can sit calmly in a tense silence usually controls the room. Instant respect is born when you stay composed, while others scramble to escape the pressure. Picture this. Someone throws a provocation at you, and you say nothing. Just silence. They wait, expecting a reaction. It doesn't come. Suddenly they feel the weight of their own words. That pause, that charged stillness, belongs to you now. And that space? That's where invisible power lives. Discomfort makes people reveal themselves. Think of a meeting where no one wants to speak up. Try locking eyes, staying silent, letting the discomfort stretch. Someone will talk, and when they do, they'll likely say more than they meant. Machiavelli would say, "Don't rush to ease the tension. Let it work for you. Let others squirm while you stay still." This applies in personal relationships too. In an argument, if you hold a calm silence, keeping your breathing slow and your eyes steady, you shift the power. Your partner was ready for a fight, but you offered presence instead. That's the power of silence. It shows strength without saying a word. Discomfort becomes your stage. Here's the truth. People confuse discomfort with weakness, but the one in control doesn't rush to make everyone feel okay. He allows the tension to rise, because discomfort exposes weakness in others. And in real life, this looks like strength, staying calm under pressure, in silence, in uncertainty. This behavior creates an aura. People start to see you as someone who doesn't get shaken, someone who doesn't flinch. That alone creates silent influence. Your powerful posture begins before you even speak. And when you finally do, every word lands harder, because it was earned in the silence. In leadership, in negotiation, even in attraction, discomfort, when used well, becomes your ally. It's not just about what you say, but about how you handle the space between words. Those moments aren't empty, they're filled with leverage. And the one who holds that silence without panic is always the one being watched. Because discomfort is a mirror. It shows who's comfortable with themselves and who desperately needs validation. Once you understand that, you'll stop running from it. You'll use it. You'll turn down the volume and start winning with presence. But to do that well, you must also know when to keep someone's ego intact, especially in public. The art of not correcting others in public. The urge to correct someone in front of others is strong, especially when you know you're right. But Machiavelli would warn, never crush the ego of someone you want on your side. Public correction is like pulling someone's rug out from under them. You might win the point, but you lose their loyalty. And silent enemies are the most dangerous ones. Instant respect also comes from knowing how to protect someone's dignity. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague makes a technical mistake. Instead of calling them out in front of the group, you pull them aside afterward and talk privately. That single decision builds trust. You gain authority and earn both male and female respect without creating unnecessary friction. That's invisible power. That's Machiavellian wisdom in action. It works in personal relationships too. When your partner says something wrong in front of others, correcting them, even with good intentions, can wound. It embarrasses. It creates distance. Respect in relationships requires tact. Holding your correction for a private moment shows emotional intelligence, and emotional control is a form of dominance. People who publicly expose others' mistakes might look confident, but often come across as insecure. They need to prove they know more. But those who correct in private show real control. Assertive communication means knowing what to say, when to say it, and especially where to say it. Correcting someone in public closes doors, but doing it in private opens hearts. People trust those who protect them from embarrassment. That's how you gain automatic respect. It's subtle manipulation, yes, but it works. Machiavelli wouldn't condemn it. He'd encourage it. Better to have grateful allies than humiliated adversaries. Now, of course, sometimes you do need to speak up, but even then, be elegant. Use power phrases that protect the person's image. Let's take a closer look at this later. Or that. Made me think of a different angle. Be subtle, be deliberate, add a touch of mystery. That's how you lead without resistance, and it's not just about the other person. It's about you. Correcting with tact shows strong leadership. You prove you're observant, thoughtful, and don't need a spotlight to be right. Respect flows to those who move with quiet strength, and your influence grows when people know you're someone who will handle their flaws with care. When you protect someone's image, even when you could crush it, you show strength most can't match. And suddenly, your words matter more. Because, now, you're not just respected, you're trusted. And when your words finally do come out, they hit harder. Speaking of words that hit hard, what if every word you spoke carried real weight? Speak little, but make every word hit. In a world where everyone talks too much, those who master silence and drop words like sharp arrows have the upper hand. Machiavelli knew this. Power doesn't lie in how much you say. It lies in what you don't say, and in the precision of what you do. The one who speaks less but with intent is feared, because they're unpredictable. Instant respect starts when people realize your words carry weight. Think about that person in the office who barely speaks, but when they do, the room shifts. That's powerful posture. Each sentence is a decision, each opinion, a clean strike. It takes discipline, of course, but more than that, it takes filter, self-mastery, because talking less is easy. The real challenge is resisting the urge to fill silence with fluff. Power phrases don't need to be long. I disagree. Let's move forward. That's not my direction. Short, direct, firm, no fluff. The power is in the pause, in the clarity, in the refusal to soften the truth. Machiavelli would call this silent influence, speaking only when needed, and when you do, it's as if you're setting law, not offering opinion. You can apply this today. In your group chats, resist replying to everything. On social media, speak clearly, without the need to impress. In relationships, say what needs to be said, and let your body do the rest. Assertive communication isn't about volume. It's about impact, about delivering a message that stays. And no, this doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming rare. People listen more closely to those who speak with purpose. The secret to automatic respect isn't in saying a lot. It's in saying what matters. While others defend themselves with noise, you strike with words, and every word cuts deep because it was earned in silence. This connects deeply with body language. When you speak less, your presence must speak louder. Calm eyes, relaxed movements, no nervous energy. Your body becomes your first language, and when your silence says, "I'm in control," even before your mouth opens, that's real presence, of authority. Then, when everyone else has drained themselves trying to be heard, you speak. Once, clearly, then stop. The silence afterward amplifies your message, because what's said with confidence doesn't need repetition. It needs space. And in that space, respect grows, because they remember your silence as much as your words. But to speak with that level of impact, you also need to know what not to say, especially when emotions run high. Because knowing when to speak is power, but knowing when to withhold your emotions, that's the next level of domination. Never show emotion in conflict. Few things weaken someone's image more than losing emotional control during a conflict. Machiavelli saw this with surgical precision. The one who exposes emotion loses power. Anger, desperation, anxiety. These are trails left behind for your enemy. Instant respect comes when you stay composed while others are unraveling, because calm in chaos equals control. Have you noticed how the loudest person in an argument often seems the weakest? The calmer person always appears stronger, not because they don't feel, but because they know that showing emotion is like laying their cards face up. And those who play with their hand exposed rarely win. This is where true presence of authority begins. Staying composed when someone attacks you publicly, or when you're treated unfairly, is next-level power. Most people would yell, defend, or explain. But if you respond with strategic calm, maybe, A pause, a deep breath, and a quiet response. You flip the script. Assertive communication is often not saying what you feel, but still making your position unmistakably clear. Let's say a coworker throws a jab at you during a meeting. You simply respond, "I understand." That's it. Steady voice, eye contact, no overreaction. That power phrase disarms them. They were hoping for a reaction. Instead, you gave them control. Control over yourself. And that's far more threatening than any angry comeback. In relationships, it works the same way. Yelling, crying, begging for understanding. These are seen as pleas for validation. But the one who holds the silence, who observes, who speaks, only when ready, becomes the authority in the room. And this applies to both men and women. Male and female respect is built on internal stability. Now you're human. Emotions will rise. But here's the key. Don't hand your inner world to someone who's trying to break it. Share your emotions privately with those who've earned your trust, not with those trying to shake your foundation. Strategic behavior means knowing when to hide your fury and when to turn it into silent movement. Machiavelli would call that survival. It's not about pretending. It's about containing. Repressed emotions can poison you, but controlled emotions can sharpen you. When you feel everything, but choose how and when to reveal it, you develop rare strength. This builds powerful posture, and that earns respect at work, in relationships, and beyond. Because when everyone expects you to explode, and instead you breathe, pause, and watch, you activate the power of mystery. And mystery, that's magnetic. It draws attention. It creates uncertainty. And when you learn that not every thought deserves your voice, you start to rise in silence. Don't give opinions unless necessary. Giving opinions has become an addiction. Everyone feels the need to say what they think all the time, as if staying silent were weakness. But Machiavelli would see it differently. Talking less is a sign of strategic intelligence. Those who comment on everything wear themselves out, expose too much, and lose their edge. But those who choose when and if to speak gain instant respect. You know those people who rarely speak, but when they do, everyone listens? That's authority. Their silence builds tension, and when they finally speak, it lands. That's the power of rarity. Selective opinion is like a rare fragrance. The less it appears, the more impact it has. Silent influence starts when you realize silence also speaks, and sometimes more clearly than words. At work, this is a superpower. Don't be the first to jump in during every meeting. Wait, watch, let others go first. This gives you an advantage. You see the full board before making your move, and when you do speak, bring something that connects it all. This behavior positions you as someone wise, calm, and in control. It builds invisible power through deliberate restraint. In relationships, the same principle applies. Sometimes your opinion won't change anything. It'll only stir the pot. And when you realize that not every thought needs to be shared, you save yourself from unnecessary tension. Strategic silence isn't passivity. It's Machiavellian wisdom. It's knowing which battles deserve your words. Funny thing is, the less you give your opinion, the more valuable it becomes. People start to listen closely when you do speak. That's when power phrases come into play. Not because they're fancy, but because they come from someone who doesn't speak just to be heard. Respect is born from your selectivity. And selectivity requires self-mastery. Even more, it protects you. Manipulators love drawing your opinions out, so they can twist them, use them against you, or pull you into their drama. But when you stay calm and respond with, "I can see both sides," or simply nod, you stay in control. And in any conversation, the one who controls the tempo controls the room. Also, keeping your opinion to yourself gives you time to understand the full picture. Those who speak too quickly often miss the depth, but those who listen first lead. Machiavelli believed your eyes and ears are more powerful tools than your tongue, and powerful posture is born in silence that listens, not in noise that reacts. Once you understand that not giving your opinion all the time earns more respect, everything shifts. Because then your voice becomes a tool, not a habit. And when the time finally comes to speak, knowing how to end your words with silence can be more impactful than the words themselves. The power move of staying silent after the last word. Most people talk, and then ruin everything by trying to reinforce what they've already said. Machiavelli would call this a fatal mistake, because when you drop a strong statement, the silence that follows is part of the message. It's not emptiness, it's punctuation. The technique of silence after the last word creates tension, weight, and immediate respect. Think about the last time someone told you something powerful, and then said nothing. You felt it, didn't you? That's because silence lets the words sink in. If you keep talking after a powerful point, you water it down. But when you let the moment hang, it gets heavier. Silence amplifies. It presses. It forces the other person to sit with what was said. In debates or high-stakes conversations, this is your ace. You finish your sentence and stop. No defending, no sugarcoating, just quiet. The lack of justification turns your opinion into a verdict. The listener has no openings to attack. You've already exited the battlefield, and they're still holding their sword. That's Machiavellian precision. This works in everyday situations too. Imagine telling someone, "This doesn't work for me anymore." And then, nothing. No explanation, no need to convince. That silence creates discomfort and authority. In that space, you are in charge. You're not seeking approval, you're setting boundaries. That's the seed of automatic respect. Silence after your final word is like a period in a well-written sentence. It completes the message. It also confuses the impatient, the anxious, the manipulators. They're used to people justifying and softening everything. So when you drop a clean, firm statement and stop, it unsettles them. And mystery begins to form, the kind of mystery that builds invisible power. Use this technique in presentations, negotiations, even difficult conversations. End with a sharp phrase, then hold the pause. Count 3 seconds in your head. Watch the tension build. And while they scramble to respond, you're already in control, because the one who ends in silence owns the final emotion in the room. This also works digitally. In texts, emails, or posts, know when to stop. Don't crowd your message with emojis, over-explaining, or nervous laughter. Be clear. Be concise. Then end. Assertive communication is also about not dragging your message past its peak. That's how you gain respect without ever needing to ask for it. And once you master this move, you'll notice something strange. People remember your words more when you say less. Because they weren't just listening, they were feeling the silence that followed. And that silence, it speaks louder than noise ever could. But to reach that level of impact, there's something else you must master. Knowing what not to correct, especially when the cost is greater than the reward. Now that you've seen the power of silence, control, and presence, the only question is, will you use it or keep giving away your power? Because respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you build. And everything you've learned here only works if you put it into action, especially when your instinct tells you to do the opposite. Will you keep explaining yourself to people who've already made up their minds? Will you keep talking just to fill space? Or will you practice holding back, observing, owning the room with your silence? Self-mastery starts when you stop asking to be respected and start commanding it with how you carry yourself. So, let me ask you, which of these techniques are you going to try first? Which one do you know would change the way people treat you right now if you applied it? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. If this video hit home, subscribe now and turn on the notifications. Because here, you're not just learning tricks, you're learning how to transform. And don't stop here. Watch the next video. Worse than failing is doing nothing. Strategic courage according to Machiavelli. It'll show you how silence can become weakness when it's fear-based, and how to act with strategy and boldness, even when the stakes are high.